today's show, we're going to show you the single most important chart in AI that explains why your company isn't going to be a winner just because you use the best models. You heard that right. The best AI models are not going to dictate who wins and who loses in AI. We're going to give you the actual winning formula and how you can implement it at your company today. All of that and more on this episode of Marketing Against the Grain. All right, Kip, we are here with yet another AI model. GPT 5.4 is out. Another model beats lots of benchmarks, apparently one of the best models on the planet. And we're kind of here to argue in this 12 to 15 minute video that it doesn't even matter.
It doesn't.
That this model does not even matter. Doesn't matter how good it is. Model capabilities are not the important thing right now in the AI industry.
Yeah, we're going to instead tell you what the most important thing instead of the models getting better, what that is, and how you can leverage that for your business to actually change growth in this new era. And Kieran, based on that, there's a chart that's going viral from Anthropic that's really, I think, was the lightning rod moment for the conversation we wanted to have. And a lot of people are interpreting it one way. We have like a very different interpretation of it. I think it might be helpful if we show that and kind of talk through it.
So GPT 5.4, great coding model, great intelligence model, beaten Anthropic and lots of benchmarks, but we've been here before. Every single model that comes out kind of goes a little bit more up the benchmarks. Now, there are ways that they kind of align themselves to benchmark to do really well, but we are believers that model capabilities are already very, very good, and actually giving people even more capable models is not going to make much of a difference right now because of this chart. So this chart is being shared pretty widely around X, and it's from Anthropic. So fair play to Anthropic. They're putting out these to try to show what the impact of AI could be across industries. So what it's showing you is in blue is the theoretical AI coverage, which means how much of that industry could be theoretically automated with AI. And there are no surprises here. AI is really good at coding and math. It's very good at finance. It's very good at engineering type roles. It's very good at legal. It's very good at like arts and media, pretty great at all of the office and admin work. So it can get you a lot of coverage in a lot of different industries. And the red is the observed AI coverage, just how much AI is being deployed within this industries and how much of that work it is automated. And I think what you and I talked about on Slack is we don't believe that for the average AI user, the model is already good enough. It really is not going to matter this year if they get another model, another model, another model. The really hard thing about AI is actually integrating it into your existing workflows.
Yeah. So Kieran, I think one important thing to understand is like, I think everybody's looking at this chart and they're looking at this blue area, which is theoretical, right? And they're like, oh gosh, AI is going to wipe out a lot of the jobs in all of these categories. And like, that's very theoretical, might happen a year from now, might happen a decade from now. We don't know. What's the most interesting, I think what you and I are interpreting this differently, is that there's this massive gap between the red and the blue. And that there's some work that's happening in coding and in business process and in sales and some of these customer service, these really important markets, but it's like still small relative to what the perceived opportunity is. And that blue is really kind of the perceived opportunity. So if we all watching the show today agree that like, oh, there's some theoretical, much bigger opportunity versus where we are now, like what the heck does that mean is the big question.
We just dropped the AI adoption playbook. It gives you the exact framework to actually redesign your business with AI. It's a proven roadmap that helped one company book 11,000 meetings and another to resolve issues 39% faster. Get it for free. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description.
So there's a good story that this has happened, once before in time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So sure. I was giving you a good quote from a dinner I was at, and I'm with a bunch of founders, and one of the founders in there is incredible. And he had this incredible quote where he said, you cannot walk into the future if you are looking back at the past. And I think this story I'm going to go through kind of explains what's happening, which AI is being compared a lot to electricity. All right. It's like a fundamental thing that everyone is going to access and get a lot of value from. And Thomas Edison built electricity generating stations in Manhattan and London in 1881. And within a year, electricity was being sold as a commodity. So we had electricity as a commodity in 1881, this incredible new invention. But by 1900, less than 5% of mechanical drive power in American factories came from electric motors. And so companies had not integrated into how they were doing work. And if you looked at that, it's because those factories kept their old layouts. They just swapped steam for electricity and then ran the same processes. So think about that in terms of AI. The productivity explosion of electricity within factories only happened when they redesigned their factory floor around electricity, right? So they started by stepping into the future with electricity by looking back at the past, the same old processes. I'll keep the same processes. I will swap steam for electricity and I'll just do that thing. And there was only 5% adoption. It got wide adoption within all the factories when they redesigned their exact factories around AI. That, I think, is going to be the fundamental shift that happens in companies, not AI model capabilities, but redesigning the company to be an AI native company, team structure, skill sets, how people do work. And that's going to take way more time.
Way longer.
These companies to come out with another model. There's a cool thing you can do now. Go to Perplexity, go to ChatGPT, go to any one of these models and ask it to build a table of open jobs in Google DeepMind, Claude, Anthropic, and OpenAI, and tell it to show you who they're hiring for. Because if you ask who they're hiring for, it tells you a lot about their strategy. And I do this all the time. Mm-hmm. They are hiring for forward deployed engineers.
They are.
People who can help companies integrate it into that business, but not swap steam for electricity, but how you start to redesign your business around these models.
I think this is honestly one of the most important points we've ever made on the show, is that the bottleneck is humans. That human bottleneck is going to take, I don't know, Kieran, what do you think? Decades to fully get through?
I think it depends if we get agents that get deployed as employees and can actually do a bunch of that work internally. But for the average customer, you and I have talked about this. Like, there's like, we go to dinners with AI founders and it's a different planet. Everyone's in there like Claude MD file, trying to like get my OpenClaw agent to like run a bunch of my stuff. Then there's a category who are kind of doing some stuff with AI and they're like, hey, I'm using ChatGPT on a day-by-day basis, asking it some questions, maybe getting it to write an email. And then there's a group of people that are like, what the fuck are you all talking about?
Totally.
That group, there was a study.
That's the majority of humans, by the way.
That's the majority. There was a study.
Vast majority.
Yeah, there was a study recently, maybe from OpenAI or another one of these companies, where normal people, just people surveyed, 84% had never used AI, right? That's how early we are. If you look at some of the data, only 8.6% of companies have even deployed an AI agent in production, right? There is such a small amount of usage. And OpenAI had a State of Enterprise AI report actually that was pretty interesting, where it just showed the top 5% in terms of intensity, in terms of usage, were orders of magnitude way ahead of everyone else. Like the gap between the top percentile and everyone else has never been greater.
Well, one, it shows you that the single biggest opportunity on this chart is actually the gap between the red and the blue. And like, if you can help any company transform and become AI native, then there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of money to be made there because, like we said, the models are smart. They can do all of these things. I think what's going on, Kieran, is a few things. One, first of all the cost of these models is greatly subsidized right now. And like, if you compared the actual cost to get from red to blue, like in terms of actual cost versus a subsidized cost, it would be pretty expensive, right? Like the amount of compute that you're paying for, inference that you're paying for to close that gap, it's going to be a lot. It's not going to be tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars. It's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, but we are not the episode just to give you the opinions, just to give you like, here's what we think. We want to give you the practicalities. Kip, you've been working on a skill that can actually help companies close that gap on the red and the blue.
Okay. So I'm here in Perplexity Computer, which is one of many AI tools. It's kind of inconsequential to what we're using here. and I had to do a task. I gave it a very complex prompt. It ran for well over an hour. And this is my V1. I'm going to edit through this and I'll give you the skill at the end of the day. But what I had to do is basically, can it build a skill you could use in any AI tool, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Claude Code, what have you, any tool to actually help you take your team, yourself, your team, your company from, being that factory that isn't set up for electricity, to your metaphor, Kieran, to being an AI native organization to actually understand what it would take. Okay. So, Kieran, what I really had to do was go and research current best practices in AI transformation, look at all the current frameworks, rethink them, and actually make a new framework for us and a new skill that's going to help people take through. So here's what it did. It researched 20 existing frameworks. It did a bunch of real world case study analysis. It did a failure analysis and current best practices from McKinsey and HBR and Wharton and all of the fancy folks. Here's the framework, Karen. I want your opinion on this. The new framework is called Rapid 5, and R is Reveal. Assess the team's actual workflows, maturity, and map the jagged frontier of where AI helps versus hurts their specific work. A, Architect. Design the target AI native operating model with workflow by workflow before and after designs, technology selection, and change management. P, Prove. Implement through 2-week sprints on real-world pilots, not synthetic, measured across 3 horizons: efficiency, capability, and transformation. Ingrain. Shift from tool adoption to identity shift through peer learning, AI-first defaults, and performance integration. And D, Dynamize. Build a 90-day reassessment cycles because AI capabilities change quickly. All right, what do you think about the framework here?
Yeah, so I'd say that's changes quarterly, and that's important because it actually understands that things are changing in a fluid way. So this is really good. What you're really doing and what we're showing folks here, and I think if you really want us to go deeper on this specific use case, you're building a forward deployed AI skill. Forward deployed engineers, so people, our listeners understand, they are going into companies, they are working for OpenAI, Claude, working for these different AI products, and they go in and they implement AI into your business. And so when I've talked to a lot of AI founders, their biggest problem is that companies are struggling to integrate AI and agents into their workflows, which is what that chart is saying. So they hire these specialists who go in and do that for you. What you're actually kind of building is a skill for the average business to be able to do forward deploy AI engineering within their own company.
Correct.
And so this here is like a pretty good framework. What is the inputs to run this skill?
The skill requires essential team profile, core workflows, 5 to 10, current AI state and transformation goals. That's the bare minimum. Important data and systems environment, leadership culture context, constraints, risks, and then helpful competitor benchmarks, individual skills inventory, and prior performance data.
Okay. So a lot of this is going to be tricky to get, actually. I think the takeaway for folks here is if you want to close the gap between the red and the blue for your business because you think there's value in integrating AI across a certain team, that you can actually ask AI to actually start to build a skill that will allow you to kind of give it some input around that team. And I think to your point, one of the suggestions would be have your team just do a bunch of looms of how they work and then take those transcripts and then give it to your skill. And the skill extrapolates that using some sort of framework like you have here and then creates the ways that AI can automate those things. And maybe we'll show that in practice. Maybe we'll do an episode where we show...
Yeah, let's do a part 2 of this where we'll really do the screen share. We'll try to simplify the inputs, and you and I will just keep iterating on the skill offline and part of that episode until we get it really, really tight. And then we'll give it to everybody. So I'm sure there's some people who want this skill now. We will give the skill away once we think is really good. We want to go through a bunch of fictional examples, and then we want to do a couple real world examples, and then we'll know it's pretty good.
Cool.
Right? Okay.
That's the episode.
Huge opportunity. You might be ahead of your competitors, but you're probably behind the market opportunity. Big market opportunity. I think it's funny that Anthropic put that chart out. There's a bunch you could talk about it, but I think the most interesting thing is that there's a real gap for a lot of businesses from where they are to where they could be. Appreciate you watching. Hit like, hit subscribe. We'll see you real soon on Marketing Against the Grain.
This data is wrong every freaking time.
Have you heard of HubSpot?
HubSpot is a CRM platform where everything is fully integrated.
Whoa, I can see the client's whole history, calls, support tickets, emails, and here's a task from 3 days ago I totally missed.
HubSpot. Grow better.